Hello, everybody, and welcome to Loremaster's Investigation, where we take your tabletop role-playing game questions, topics, concerns, get a nice drink, sit by the fire, and talk about them. I'm Cody.
And I'm Joe, and the book, it's a growlin'.
Oh, is it?
You thought I'd forget about the bit. I never forget about the bit.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I did forget about the bit.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's cool. You do you, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you remembered because that would be another one in the lexicon where like somebody's listening is like, man, I remember that old bit where they had like a talking book that's like 8 souls or whatever, and like.
I was kind of imagining it as oh shit, what was it called? The Monstrous Book of Monsters from Harry Potter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I saw the commercials for that movie where it was like kind of like alive and had like teeth and shit.
And apparently and the way you had to open it up was like pet the spine of the book, and then it opened up. And it was like, okay, so like let's think about this for a second. Like, why would anyone... Why? Just why?
I don't know. I don't know why you would make things like that, but also, like, I don't know. Wizards are desperate.
Well, you know, it's funny, right? Because, like, okay, so, like, have you read any Harry Dresden or encountered Harry Dresden at all?
You know, I feel like I've heard a lot of it from like friends and stuff.
Okay. So like kinda basic premise is that Harry Dresden is a like private eye wizard living in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he has pissed off most wizards because he's like out in the open about it. He's like, "Hey guys, like I'm a wizard."
And people are like, "What the fuck?"
And one of the things about it, and the thing I kind of love the most is that he like points out that like he drives this like really old shitty like V8 like beetle bug that's like always falling apart, and he like goes to a restaurant where like they have a wood burning stove and like a couple of fans to keep it cool, but like technology just doesn't work because like the arcane and technology just like don't blend well together. And so it's like his phone doesn't work and yada yada yada. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, you know, arcane magic kind of competing against electricity and things like that. But like in Harry Potter, there's like never any justification, as far as I remember, about like why wizards don't use technology, just outside of the fact that they're wizards. Just like, it's kind of bizarre. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, the creepy book that was inspired by a book that I don't know why it exists is growling at me. It's like that sound that I just did.
Yeah.
Oh boy, the book opened up and there's a question here for us to read.
Yeah. Well, let's get out from the intense rains, because I don't know if this will be edited to the point where the rain's gone, but my audio has picked up everything that's happening outside right now. Yeah, it's a bit of a storm.
We might have a bit of a siren on my end.
Right. So apologies for those who are like want that like crisp, clean, silent audio for this one. But imagine, if you will, we're in a nice log cabin with a little bit of rain off in the distance, and like next door neighbor is Siren Head. So like, you know, it's fine.
I feel like this like brings up the ambiance of like two people just like arguing about, or not even arguing, but just like discussing, just like we have like a fire and like snifters of brandy.
Yeah.
Like just a random map of some country on the wall with like pins in it for some reason.
Yeah, because, you know, we're scholars and wizards of sorts.
Of sorts, for sure, because I'm not a wizard. I don't have arcane magics.
I wish I had arcane magic.
What's our question this week, Cody?
So our question and topic this week is technology at the game table. Oh. And I'll define this a little bit because, I mean, first and foremost, because of the situation that the world is in currently, I would argue that technology is probably the best thing that happened to the tabletop role-playing game spectrum, because now we can play remote and have, have those games that we couldn't have before. So yeah, first and foremost, I don't mean technology in general, but I mean technology at a physical table, if you will. Before, not including things like Roll20 and Skype and Discord and all that stuff. So
cool. I'm glad you started with that disclaimer, because I had a very similar disclaimer myself.
Yeah.
About how like we're not including things like Roll20 or things like that, because it is literally allowing us to like do our thing right now.
So technology at the table. My personal belief in this is that, much like everything else in the universe, it's got a lot of good things that happen to it. I still think that technology has really moved the tabletop role-playing game spectrum in a lot of cool and interesting new ways, but it also has some of its like curses to it. So for instance, with, laptops, computers, apps, we've really changed the way we do things. Like with things like D&D Beyond, you can have your character sheet literally being able to be pulled up on like a computer or your phone. Thing. Exactly. And having writable PDFs, you never have to worry about that constant pain of writing down your health and then erasing it and then writing again and then eventually getting to the point where you have erased most of the paper underneath where your current health is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, really quick, because this is similar to one of my first points as well, or one of my points as well. As a person who has like just horrendous handwriting.
Oh yeah, me too. I got the worst handwriting ever.
Like it's super nice because you can see, like you said, like I feel like the HP was always the one that got me the most too. Another thing as well is that I think another thing that technology helps with is that I'm not necessarily the greatest at math, so it allows me to do. And admittedly, D&D 5th edition has smaller numbers than any other role playing game I've ever played before. But like still with like HP specifically, it's nice to just like pull up a calculator and not just like have to sit there and count on your fingers. But yeah.
I mean,
I just wanted to jump in. These rival PDFs are freaking cool.
Yeah, and like we have things like Spotify and like music playlists that you can like totally get people immersed into the game with like various tunes that you play during your session. Like there are literally what's the word I'm looking for? There are literally playlists of tavern music, so that when you say you arrive at the tavern, it sounds like you're at a tavern. And that's super cool. And we also have like apps and map making software which can create cooler looking maps instead of just using a whiteboard with squares on it or whatever. We have battle maps and things like that, and it's way cheaper than buying thousands of dollars worth of miniatures and miniature landscapes. Like this whole technology has really changed a lot of things. Like I actually, the first time, and maybe this dates the episode for people whenever they start to watch the campaign diaries, whenever those come out. I actually made the first like legit like map of a grand hallway filled with things, and then like a big throne room filled with, pews and pillars and that's a big one. But yeah, like there's so many things that technology has changed. And I couldn't, like, at this point, I almost couldn't live without a lot of those things. Like, I love when we can use music. And I think there is a Discord app that would allow us to create something like that. I just don't know how to do it off the top of my head. But, like, there's so many other things. But then, on top of that, there are also some bad things.
Well, if I could just for a second,
absolutely,
say a thing to the music aspect of it, or as I like to call it, the D&DJ.
Yeah.
There are even like apps out there that allow you to kind of like filter your music by like keywords. So I know that our group's D&DJ like has things like combat and then like wacky and like, you know, chill and things like that. And so it's like he can pull up music pretty quick that I think helps take it to the next level. In fact, I wanted to tell a story real quick about D&DJing. Is my DM in college, and one of my very best friends is a big video game fan, and he had lots of video game soundtracks, and no one else at the table really played video games. So for and this is like one of his proudest achievements. He has told me as such that like for me personally, the Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty theme will always be associated with cool things that have happened in D&D. And
that's such a good track too.
It is, right? And like, you know, he talks about how it's like, you know, it's like there's some suspense here, and then there's some like exciting things. So like he would always bust it out during like chases, right? If we were getting like run down by someone, or like, you know, if it was like getting run down and like transitioning into combat or whatever. And so it's like, yeah, without technology, I don't necessarily think that it like, you know, it's just so many weird things that you can do to, like you said, create a higher level of immersion. You can have music, you can have soundboards, both serious and silly. You know, for instance, like we kind of as a joke started playing the air horn during like Nat 20s and things like that.
Yeah.
And the Price is Right fail horns when you roll the 1, and it's just things like I feel like my enjoyment, like I know that, you know, it's technically called a tabletop, you know, or a pen and paper role playing game, but as a person with bad handwriting, like I'm kind of glad to ditch the paper. And then one other thing I'll say really quick too, and I think it's something you were kind of going for. And but like, let me tell you, it is so nice to have like various resources out there, like you know, PDF versions of source books that you can just kind of like, you know, click to, like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Sidebars, like bookmarks and stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't have to write down like the 4 paragraphs of text of a spell. You can just click and find that spell right away, or jump between things, or find something in the source book. Because like, as a person, once again, with bad handwriting, like I either had to, you know, tab the shit out of a player handbook, or not, or waste everyone's time by just like desperately flipping through that bad boy to find the spell or the thing I was looking to do. And if you can just click 3 times and it's right there, like, all the better. So I'm pro it. But
Yeah, I mean 100%. I mean, Control F in a PDF is like a godsend. Like, I don't know how many times I mean, shit, I have a player's handbook somewhere. I may not even have it anymore. I may have had to toss it because of like its wear and tear, but it had like 20 tabs or something like that, because like I always needed like these very specific things, and the only way I could fix that is by tabbing up a whole book, and it got real messy and it would tear pages. Like, it was just a mess. But yeah, I mean, I think we could go at length about why technology is just so fucking brilliant. Like, I know anytime I would go to, not only like me being a DM game, but like also as a player, like I always brought my one of those Microsoft notebooks or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just always had that ready for all of my notes. Like, I have so many notes in my OneNote for Windows 10 or whatever, that I don't know how I would have done that if I would have done it pen and paper, you know? Like, especially creating notes for the 6, our first campaign. Like, I eventually moved over to the computer, but like damn, I don't know a damn thing about what happened at the beginning, at least to like the same detail that I do right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, but on top of that, you know, there's a lot of good things that happen, but I also think it can be a bit of a curse. And, you know, because here's the thing. Technology breaks. Technology doesn't work. Sometimes, you know, being able to have your character sheet on your computer. What if your computer dies? You know?
Yeah,
now you lost all your character sheet.
That was dangerously close to happening to me.
Exactly. Yeah, like, or maybe you can't afford your Spotify premium anymore, and now, you know, if you want to use Spotify to like play songs, you can't because now it's filled with, and in my case, a bunch of Trojan ads. So it was always weird being like, here's this tense number, and then like Trojan man. Like,
see, I think that would have been great. Then you
you
could have established like a masked figure, the Trojan man, who like would
who always just
like,
shows up.
Yeah, he would just do like one or two cool things and be like bye and then run away.
Exactly.
And it happened every couple turns.
Yeah. But then also like, and I think one of the big things is technology can be super distracting. I know, you know, with things like Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, and all that stuff just at your fingertips, like, I know me personally, I can find it hard to keep people's attention when it's not their turn or they're not in the spotlight, immediately fill that void with, you know, haha, funny cat memes and stuff like that. Granted, at the end of the day, I think the good outweigh the bad. I would never be like, no tech at the table. Fuck that. That's just not who I am. But I think
Mr. Cody said no.
But I do think the real problem with technology is it enables a sort of mentality that we've kind of all grown used to, and it's like you fill the void of awkward silence and things like that with technology. But at a game where you're kind of expected to be like attentive and paying attention to what's going on, even though it may not be your turn, it kind of comes off, at least to me, as rude. If you're like on your phone and then like when I'm like, hey, what do you want to do? And you look up at me and go, you're going to have to explain everything you just said. I wasn't paying attention. You know what I mean? Like that shit sucks. And because a lot of the times, for me, that means it's not interesting. But the thing is, I can't make, and I don't know a game where you can even do this. Like, it's kind of an impossible achievement, but like, I don't think there's ever going to be a moment in a tabletop role-playing game for everyone at the table where someone isn't like bored of what's going on. Because there's that player interaction. There's, someone's got to decide what they want to do, and not everyone's going to be able to make those quick decisions just off the cuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And so, so that's the one thing, is the distraction kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth at times because of, to me, it seems like, especially for me, I do a lot of like homebrew stuff. I don't just like pick up adventure books and just read whatever's on it. Like, I'm handcrafting and tailoring this to you, and I can't even hold your attention for 20 minutes because of Facebook or Reddit or whatever. But, that's my beef. It's not with technology, it's what technology kind of enables.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, like, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I'm guilty of that.
Well, and I also know this is a very, like, nebulous area, right? Because, like, I also am one of those people who needs their hands doing something to be able to pay attention.
Uh-huh.
So, like, I was fidget spinners were probably made for people like me.
I'm a fan of the fidget cube, personally.
The fidget, I actually really do like the fidget cube a lot. But that aside, like, I get if you, like, need to, like, for me, the way I do it Because, like, I know, like, if I'm not doing something, like, my brain just, like, kind of goes everywhere and, like, I can't focus at all. I'm taking notes. Like, I'm taking extensive notes. I'm usually the cartographer, or not cartographer, that's the map maker. Shit, I had a word for it. I'm, like, writing the bibliography of our, adventure, you know? Like, that's what I'm doing, because I know if I don't, then I might get distracted and be like, all right, let's see what's going on Reddit. Haha, memes, dank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, understood.
But yeah, I totally get that side of it, and I wouldn't dog anybody for that, because especially for you, like, I know that when I call on you at the table, and it's one of the, it's really nice, that majority of the time, I would say 9.9 times out of 10, you know exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
Any kind of clarification questions are because it was my fault and not, like, because you weren't paying attention. So, like, you know, 100%, big thumbs up.
And the rare time I don't know what to do, it's because I'm in single digis in a room by myself with like 10 enemies.
That's also true. I mean, granted, in most cases,
that was an extenuating circumstance, but
yeah, I totally understand if you don't know what to do. If you have like 1 HP and there's like, you know, if you don't do the right thing, there's going to be 10 dudes taking shots at you, and you know you're not going to be able to make, you know, all 10 of those.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where the balancing act comes in, right? Where it's like,
absolutely.
And you know, I think maybe part of it too speaks to what we talked about in our last Loremasters, which is just like, you know, if nothing else too, like if you're distracted by your technology or whatever, you might not realize that guy you just wasted a super powerful spell on had just been wailed on by 3 other party members, and there's a decent chance that all of that fucking cool epic damage you just did was wasted because the person had like 3 HP left.
Exactly. I don't know how many times I have like chuckled at somebody like going full Nova on some dude who had 1 HP, because like people aren't, you know, aren't paying attention to what's going on. Like, and I mean, all of your party members are hitting them pretty hard.
Yeah, sometimes it's inevitable because it's like you're standing right next to the guy and you're like a melee fighter, and you know, there's no one close enough in one turn to do anything super significant or whatever. But it's just like, yeah, I feel like that's 50, like that's it's the balancing act, right? Where it's like, you know, you pay attention to who's getting hit, you pay attention to what your team members are doing, you pay attention if your team member is setting something up. Because it's you know, if a person is setting something really, you know, cool or epic up, and then you like, you know, I don't know, like do a thing that like takes them out of range or whatever, like, yeah, I mean, it's just like it's a whole thing, and I understand where your frustration comes from, and I think it's a frustration that we all kind of share from time to time, and it's one of those deals where it's like I can't get too mad because it's like, I do it too, you know. It's the whole glass houses scenario,
right?
But at the same time, it's at the very least, if you're going to do it, have enough awareness that like, you know what you're going to do when you're ready to, when your time has come, right? Which also helps solve the problem with the last one, which was quick and punchy combat. Go check it out if Adam Roulette.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess my personal final thoughts are just from an ease and from a what's the word I'm looking for? Just from like an ease and a like ease of play and ease of looking stuff up. You know, I like flipping through those tomes as much as the next guy to find stuff, but sometimes it's just so much easier to click and boom, here's the spell catapult ready to go. And I understand people too who want to sit down with that pen and pencil and paper in their hand, and you know, like there's an aspect of it that makes it almost feel like you're recording the great history of the age or whatever. But
right,
you know, like for me personally, it's just been something to make my life much easier in every conceivable way, so I don't have to read my dog shit handwriting
Nice. Self call out.
Yeah, I mean, hey, and it's one of those deals where it's like people have taken the time to provide these resources for you. And, you know, I feel like there's limits to those writable PDFs as well, right? Like, you know, there's only so much space text you can fit onto a PDF before it starts like bleeding out or
right.
not, you know, character limits are reached and things like that. And so it's like I have a Google Docs where I take sporadic notes as well. I have like 4 different Google Docs. It's a mess. But yeah. Any final thoughts from your end? Or
yeah, I mean, I love technology. I think it has really improved the game in a lot of dramatic ways, and I wouldn't leave home without it. I don't know if I could do a traditional pen and paper RPG without like, you know, a laptop to at least take notes or whatever. But it also opens up a door that, as DMs, you should be wary. Like, you know, distractions may occur. I don't really have an answer for you for that one. We can maybe talk about that on another episode, but it's something to keep in mind and to be aware of, that, you know,
yeah.
as technology continues to advance, we're going to find new ways to distract ourselves, new ways to meme, and, you know, all that good stuff.
For sure. So anyway, hey Cody, oh man, the book is so satisfied. It's eating those eggs.
It's so full.
Said it. You couldn't hear it because this mic is good at not picking up the sound of a book chewing.
Oh, nice. I'm glad
Cody,
that we were able to get the book chewing filter on there.
Yeah, I paid for premium. Hey Cody, if people liked what they heard on this episode and they want to learn more, what's a way that they could learn more?
Well, they can go to the nexus of all of our content, which is www.fandomroulette.com, where all of our shows are updated as they go live. And there's a little area that tells you, the viewer, what we're up to and what we're all about. And then all the way at the bottom, right above our social media tags and links and whatever, there's a little area where you can write out your question or your topic that you would like to tell us about or would like us to discuss on Loremaster's investigation. That is what it's there for.
Yeah. And if people like this episode and they want to listen to more, or they want to give it to a friend, where some place that they can find other pieces of our content. There you go.
Wow. Yeah.
I got there. I stuck the landing.
Yeah. So we're on a myriad of places. You know, the big ones, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, your RSS feeds, your podcast catchers. All you got to do is search Fandom Roulette.
And if there are people who want to hit us up on social media, wherever our social media is.
Well, you can get at us on Twitter at fandomr_podcast. That is our Twitter handle. If you'd like to tell us how you feel about this episode or any other maybe other technologies, there's tons of it out there. I am always bookmarking new things to use. So feel free to tweet at us your favorite tabletop role-playing game bookmarks that you've collected over the years. And you can also find us and do the same things on Facebook and Instagram, searching Fandom Roulette.
Yeah. And please remember to rate, review, subscribe, like, hit the bell.
Punch it!
Leave a comment. Share it. Give it to a friend. All of that wonderful stuff. This is a side gig at the moment, but with your help, we can grow.
Yeah, this is a labor of love, and anything you can do to show other people this content and get other people on that fandom hype train, the more that we can dedicate our time and resources into making better things. I mean, all these shows came from us kind of hearing the fans and wanting to specialize a little more, and yeah, so definitely share with a friend. Like, share, subscribe, all those things.
All that stuff.
All of that greatly helps us out, and we super appreciate any and all of those who do.
Agreed. And now it's time to land this bad boy.
Ooh.
Thank you so much for listening to Phantom Roulette. Signing off, I'm Joe.
And I'm Cody.
And as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy. Best ending.